I'm 67 years old, Hados. It's been 40 years since I was near a place of education. And yet, having played no cricket myself, standard words, just everyday words that everyone uses in conversations, building a platform, a good placement, has a good rig, all terms that you use in sporting contexts. I'm only reminded of my friends who got placed at Schlumberger when you say he's got a good rig. I can't resist from making that reference, even though nobody in 50 kilometers of the vicinity of the stadium understands what I mean. But just because I have the mic, I feel the freedom to say it. That's the beauty of our game, isn't it? Sometimes I wonder if Sunny has a point, if Sanjay Manjrekar has a point, if El Siva has a point. Who gave me this job? And why am I still having it?
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?
Hello and welcome to the Bits and Pieces. This is Max, and we're coming to you on this nice sunny summer morning, at least where I am. And before we go into the episode, I was talking to someone and was reminded of this game from, I think, about a decade ago. It was Sri Lanka playing England. It was a ODI game. It was a decade ago. Remember, the ODIs were still a thing back then. Sri Lanka knocks up 300 or thereabouts, and England has to chase. And this is the England which had Alistair Cook and Ian Bell opening, right? And Gary Balance at one down and all that. So that's that team. And that team is horribly sucking. They're like 5 wickets down or something in 30 overs and barely make 100. And that's when Joss Butler walks out, right? Walks out at number 7 and smashes everyone across the park, right? Mulling, Angelo, Mendes, everyone is. It's hitting like we haven't seen. They fall short by like 6-7 runs or something like that. But that Joss Butler innings was something I remember a lot, and because he was going at 160 strike rate, which is not very common, back in 2014. And then there's another game. This is more in recent times. This probably happened earlier this year. I remember this more because it was right about the Pongal time. And this was a T20 game in Bangalore, where India was playing Afghanistan. Right after the World Cup, we started playing a bunch of these useless series, bilateral series, right? But this one is interesting because India bats first, scores 200, but then Afghanistan starts making a match of it, right? They make a match of it, and the game ends up in a tie, and it goes into 2 super overs. Nobody remembers it, I know, because it is a bilateral tournament. But both these games had something very interesting. Both these games had 2 players who were completely sublime. So in the England game, it was Joss Butler, and the India game, it was Rohit Sharma making one more of his T20I centuries that no one will remember. The score in both of those games was 121. And that is where we are on episode 121 of the Bits and Pieces. This is Max, and I have with me Prashant and Varun. So let's get into it, guys. What a week it has been. We've had Pakistan and New Zealand, or the New Zealand E team, playing a T20 series, which has been a nail-biting affair if you look at the results and how things have gone. Have you been following those?
Yeah, following the scores for sure. But to be honest, I think the Pakistan side started with their first strength side, like start of the tournament. Towards the end, it felt like a Pakistan B team as well. Like a lot of names missing from the side. But yeah, doesn't look too good for Pakistan. Shadab and Azhar Mahmood said that there wasn't enough intent with the batting, and Babar came out and said that the batting was fine and it was the bowling that let Pakistan down. So it's something they don't seem to be too intent on rectifying this whole Babar Rizwan thing. And with Saim Ayub not doing so well, looks like Rizwan is going to get back his opening slot as well. Going to be interesting to see how. I mean, today they have announced the coach also. So Gary Kirsten is going to be the coach for the World T20, it seems. So it
Oh,
will be
wow.
interesting to see how all of that pans out,
Yeah,
basically.
I think they also announced Jason Gillespie will be their test team coach, and that Gary Kirsten will be their white ball coach, and that Azhar Mahmood will be assistant coach for both of those teams. So, as always with Pakistan, these arrangements bring with them a lot of excitement because we don't know how this dynamic will play out. There
Are
were
both
also
of them on Zoom? Are both the overseas coaches
no,
on Zoom?
no. In fact, far from it. They've gone on to say that they are hoping that Jason Gillespie will not only be involved with the national side, but that he will also get involved in domestic red ball cricket, which
Oh.
basically means that they are hoping that they will have a viewership of at least one for those matches, because until now nobody was watching that.
I mean,
PDP, it can still be over Zoom, right? Domestic
You
cricket can be
hey, if they're
So,
streamed on YouTube or something, then why not? Yeah. But at least it's the idea in the right direction, right? Because I think it's called Quaid-e-Azam Trophy or something, right?
Right.
And so, fast bowlers coming up from them, he looks at them and all that. But
Yeah.
BNP Jinx worked out for that fourth game. We spoke a lot about Tim Robinson and the other Robinsons who are umpires and players. And then Tim Robinson scored a 50, which eventually helped New Zealand win that game. So that happened. But then I think Pakistan came back and won the fifth T20 last night. So these are the perfect signs, PDP, of Pakistan sucking, and then suddenly just before the tournament they will peak and beat the shit out of everyone.
Yeah.
These are ominous signs of what Dil Pakistan is.
No, stage is set for bamboo scaffolding in New York City. But I have a deeper question about this, because it seems like Groundhog Day both in Pakistan and in India, in the sense that, at least as far as this format is concerned, T20s are concerned, I think both of these countries suffer from a similar problem, which is that the marketability of the game depends on certain big name players being a part of the side, and therefore you can't get rid of them, and yet they are not the best suited to the format. So you have the same issue actually with Pakistan's batting as you do with India's batting, again, for the World Cup. So it's not that you have any shortage of power hitters in India. It's not as though you have any shortage of, I'm sure there are power hitters in Pakistan, but they're not going to look beyond Babar, and especially with all this captaincy drama and everything, with Babar giving Afridi a hug and everything. Realistically, I don't think they're going to play the team that has the best chance of winning a T20 game. They may still win, but my point is that they're not giving themselves the best chance, because the marketability of the game is at cross purposes with the tactical objective of actually winning the game.
You always wonder why the Asian countries aren't ready to be that radical as you see with an England or an Australia or someone else, right? If you look at the England team, probably Bairstow is probably going to be the only person who was part of the red ball format and will probably be part of this World Cup team. Nobody else is going to make that list because I don't think Ben Stokes is going to be available as well. And that's how much different their 11s are going to be versus for us. And I saw a tweet the other day where someone said that we are one KL Rahul innings away from fielding the same playing 11 that was at the Abu Dhabi, the Dubai T20 World Cup where we lost to Pakistan. And it's just kind of it's been sad, and Pakistan's going to a very similar thing, right? There's a lot of talk about Azam Khan making the squad, but with Rizwan there, that's not going to happen, right? Same thing goes for a lot of the other stars from the PSL as well. I don't think they're going to make it. Maybe a couple might, Like if that guy is fit, Ishanullah, I think if he was fit, maybe he might make it. But otherwise, it's going to be more or less the same team that we saw in the 50-over World Cup will probably be very much like India, right? Instead of Shreyas, we may get one other person, but otherwise, it's come with the exact same 11 guys.
I was just wondering if you guys thought that it was to do with a cultural thing, in the sense that, in India we love the cricketer more than we love cricket itself.
I think it's that. I think it's more of that this idol status that we're giving. Say, oh, how can we drop him? Yeah. Something has to happen very. You have to hit like rock bottom, like 2007 when you crashed out of that World Cup, where you say, okay, this does not work. Right? This is not working. This is humiliating. So, okay, the only place to go when you're on your ass is you're looking at top, right? So then you can start afresh.
Do you really think like with India, it is to do with the star culture? Because with the Indian team, it looked as if, especially after the last T20 World Cup, that clean break had been made, right? I mean, Rohit and Kohli weren't picked for the good, and even KL Rahul weren't picked for a good part of almost like 15 months. You had Hardik as the captain. Something seemed to change after the ODI World Cup. I think I personally think that like the planning was all in place for India to go to the West Indies without Rohit and Kohli, but somehow Hardik's fitness and the fact that how Kohli batted in the ODI World Cup, that seemed to change things. So I don't think it's so much to do with the star power, so to speak. I think it germinated from a point wherein they didn't know who their captain was going to be, because Hardik's fitness was unpredictable, and like if you looked at the rest of the squad, there wasn't somebody who could pick and say like, okay, this guy has captaincy experience, etc. That's where it all seemed to change. Plus how Rohit batted in the ODI World Cup, and then it all came down to now if you pick Rohit, you have to pick Kohli as well. So it's become a culmination of all of that in my view. But unfortunate it is, and this IPL has been a great like example of how there is a plenty of batting talent in this country, and we need to start looking beyond these guys. But who knows? Maybe Agarkar and Dravid will spring one final surprise when the team is announced.
What a nice segue into this world famous tournament. For the next 30 to 40 minutes, all we're going to talk about is the greatest show on earth, which is the IPL. And what a week it has been. What a record-breaking week it has been. And a series of records have been made or broken as the week has progressed. The first being that Chennai, where teams come to just wither away, get cramped and cry and go back on the team bus, saw 200 being breached in a chase. Right? First time ever, 200 being chased in Chennai and by a visiting team, that too. This is a first in these 16 editions of the IPL. And it's a score that I did not see happening, at least at this venue. Okay, at some of the other venues, it's been going crazy. This is like watching stick cricket come to life, almost. But they never saw that it was going to happen at Chennai. PDP, your thoughts?
So I think a couple of things. I think they relayed the pitch before the World Cup last year. By all counts, it looks like the surface does have a little more life, a little more pace. The ball comes onto the bat better. And we've actually seen this year, even in the games that Chennai has done well, it's been their fast bowlers who bowled well. I mean, at various games, it's either been Pathirana or it's been Deshpande, or there was one game where Jadeja had a brilliant outing, but it's not been the usual chokehold that spinners enjoy at Chepauk by any means. That has led to the fact that, the Chepauk has become a higher scoring venue than it was before. Even if you remember the Australia game, the India-Australia ODI, the World Cup opener, the fast bowlers were getting the ball to talk. India was, I think, 3 for 2 or 4 for 3 or something like that. There was plenty of life in that surface. So this is actually sort of what Chekhov used to be in the 90s and the 80s. I mean, old timers will reminisce about the times when fast bowlers used to, enjoy the pace and bounce on the surface.
And then another record got set where Mohit Sharma conceded the maximum runs in a T20 game. And for one of the pod founders, this was a seminal moment because for almost 2 years, Nitin Sundar has been wondering why Mohit Sharma is even a thing and when will bowlers start lining him up. So that happened. Mohit Sharma took over the record from Basil Thampi in the game against Delhi, right? And this is the game where Delhi took on Gujarat, and then Mohit Sharma conceded 73 for no wickets in that game. Yet again, 200 was reached. I think we should stop mentioning from now on that 200 was breached, because I think this week 200 was breached in almost every other game, barring one where it was 190, 94, 199. When you had games that were in a 160, 180 thing, and when 200 was reached, 200 was made this tonight. Now we're going to talk about the games where a 160 or a 180 has been made as a, man, that was an interesting game. It's like a complete turnaround. But VaMu, did you watch that the Delhi game against Gujarat?
Yeah, I watched bits of it. I think Gujarat seemed to be out for all practical purposes in that game. Then they came back from nowhere towards the end. Funnily, Mohit Sharma seemed to take a lot of confidence out of his bowling performance, in the last over of the chase, when literally the situation was calling for Rashid Khan to smash a six off every ball. Mohit Sharma was trying to take the strike of Rashid Khan basically while batting. So it was funny how highly he seems to rate his own batting capability. Yeah, weird game. You wouldn't expect both those franchises to be lining up big scores and Gujarat to chase something like that. It ended up being a close game out of nowhere, basically. But what do you think about FMCG, man? The guy is just madness. He just seems to be a right-handed version of Travis Head in terms of wanting to smash every ball, but looks 2x more elegant than Travis Head.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you say the right-handed version of Travis Head, that is a very, very big insult to him. Guy looks really good hitting those shots as well. And what speed, man. They're the sound is like takak. It was just flying all over the park. And they've it's sad that Delhi, it's taken 6 games, 6 losses for them to, uncover him and get him out there, because they had persisted with Warner, and Shea Hope was playing in a T20 game. I was why is Shea Hope playing in a T20? They had Mitch Marsh, who has never completed an IPL season yet again. That was their starting 11. And then finally, after 6 losses, they're okay, screw this. They get this guy, and what power. What power. Ashwin was on the Club Prairie, our rival podcast. They sell tequila and have a couple of washed up international cricketers there, but we're more fun. And he mentioned that at the Nets, he saw Fraser McGurk, and he was like, man, I just don't want to bowl to him. And man, that guy is just something else. The way he's been coming hard, and even the game against Hyderabad, we spoke about this in last week's pod as well. As long as if Fraser McGurk kept going, Hyderabad was also going to lose that game. But this one, Gujarat had no chance. More importantly, this game was the comeback of the prodigal son. 15 months out of the game. Will he ever walk? Could he ever keep? Can he do 120 sit-ups in an inning? Rishabh Pant came and put on a show. That was a pretty special inning, because Fraser McGurk, I think, got out early that game. Rishabh Pant mauling was something else. He got one of those no-look sixes in as well. And he's booking his tickets as we speak, I guess.
No, for sure. Obviously, he's had a couple of great knocks. Rishabh Pant's had a couple of great knocks. But it's always been, even the game against Gujarat, he was not looking too fluent until a certain point, and then there's like the sudden spurt where and that's why the final figures for Rishabh Pant probably suggest that he's had a better tournament than what he's actually had. He's not actually looked fluent every time he's batted. I love the guy. I think he's brilliant, but I think the figures may be slightly flatter him this time.
He was around the 130, 140 mark initially, and then that Mohit Sharma happened, which is why you see him at over 200 in strike rate, right?
Yeah, I think even for that game there was a stat going around. I think against Mohit Sharma he was clocking a strike rate of 300 or 350, and against all of the other bowlers combined, he was hardly run a ball. I am with you, PDP, on Rishabh. I don't think his game is still there. He's got like a lot of runs in this, and he has looked good. But like I am with you, I don't think he should go. But that's not going to happen. The ball that is short and wide, if you bowl that to him, it still seems to be a ball that he struggles off basically.
In his favor, and this has been the pattern in all the innings where he's done well. If he fancies a bowler and if he's played a certain number of balls, he maxes out against that bowler. I mean, it was Mohit in the game against Gujarat, but even in his other, I mean, you'll see big overs like 24 run over, 25 run over, 28 run over. I mean, so what he does is that if he's in and if it's a bowler that he fancies, he will catch up. I mean, that's in his favor. But honestly, I really think that India's keeper bat for the World Cup should be Sanju Samson. He's looked so good throughout the tournament. Max is smiling. Go for it.
Tell me you're talking about Dhoni without talking about Dhoni. When you said like, oh, he will line up a bowler, identify a bowler, wait for the bowler. It's like, okay. Then you switch it up and say you're talking about Rishabh Pant. Delhi had forgotten how to win, and they didn't know how to win. And that's why that game, even stretched out for that long. When teams know how to win and they are winning, they can close out games a lot faster. And that's why Gujarat was in the hunt for so long. But that whole thing with Mohit Sharma, really, in the true sense, it was a mauling. But even the previous game, you're almost now seeing where it's becoming predictable. Now batters know. Now the back of the hand is going to come. Now the cutter is going to come. And they're lining up and waiting for it. We saw, who was it the other day? It was a young kid who also lined him up in the previous game that Delhi played. Another record-breaking thing that happened this week, Bangalore managed to win a game. Isala Cup namdilla, but at least Isala ondu win, is at least in the books. So Bangalore won, and against whom? SRH, the team that has been bulldozing everyone this season, came up short against a team that has just been handing out wins as if this was, the priest at a temple giving you your badam and kishmish. So that was a result no one ever saw coming. It was like 2 points for the taking. You could at the toss, you could say, yeah, here, please take the 2 points and go, because Sunrisers were going to chase and to just go win. But that was another game where we had a very interesting Virat Kohli inning, where Virat and Faf started the power play. Both, I think, were at one point 190 in terms of strike rate. And I think in the third or the fourth over, both were going crazy. And then Faf got out. Virat then just went on a downward slope from 190. I think by the time he got out, it was 118 or 120 or something like that. We're not supposed to talk about strike rates. It's a bad thing. It's a bad word. So that's right. But Rajat Patidar showed up, right? He's not had a good 2024 right from the red ball test series against England, but Rajat Patidar showed up like, wow, that was some of the shots were so clean. PDP, what do you think? Would you saw those?
You need such confidence to play that way, and he's not had much to be confident about. So I think he's had a couple of good innings in this IPL. This is not the only one. He's had, I think, one other knock also. It was amazing to see. SRH, their chasing and batting has been their strong suit, and more importantly, RCB's bowling this year has been abysmal. It's been beyond abysmal. So, it was a miracle of 1983 proportions that they lost the game. Yeah.
Yeah, we've
No, it
always
was a miracle. I that game saw one of the worst overs of spin bowling being bowled by a certain gentleman called Swapnil Singh. He came on to bowl in the sixth over.
Yeah.
The first ball, if you go to temples, you get this prasadam, like where you are like literally supposed to gobble it up. That first
Yeah.
ball was like a waist high full toss to Markram. He ended up completely missing it and was out LBW. I think everybody was stunned, like, how can that be out? So Markram was conned into reviewing that as well. Then I think there were like three slot balls. I think two of them went for six, if I remember.
yeah.
And then there was another slot ball which Henrik Klassen like launched it like really high, and that also ended up being a weird. Well, it was a horrible over of spin bowling, but it ended up being the game-winning one for RCB basically.
Yeah.
Swapnil Singh, yeah. Well, I mean, apparently it was his debut for. He's been part of multiple IPL teams in the past, but this was his debut, and he came as an impact sub, right? Hit a six in the last over, and then
Yeah.
came up with the ball, took two of the biggest wickets, and then Mohammad Siraj came off with a good figures for that game. He was under six and over. That was impressive, but it also showed one thing in SRH. They are so top heavy, right? This is like
Yeah.
it's like the RCB of the past, just that worked. RCB also was that, just that it never worked. These guys, it works, right? So RCB,
Yeah.
think you had Gale,
Gale. Yeah. Gale, AB de
Virat,
Villiers.
AB de Villiers, and
Yeah.
Maxwell or Watson, someone like that in the
Yeah.
top
Yeah.
four will just be packed,
Yeah.
and then after that, right?
Yeah.
But if unfortunately for those, not every game those guys would go away. There would be one game where Gale will get 170 or something, but it would not always work out that way. But these guys are very much like that. They have had Abhishek, Makram, Klassen, 1, 2, 3, 4, and after
Yep.
that you have Nitish Reddy coming up.
Yeah.
And Nitish Reddy, okay, nothing against him, but he doesn't evoke any fear in any bowler's
sure.
mind, right? You have Nitish Reddy, Shahbaz Ahmed, Abdul Samad, who are all probably good 15 to 20 ball batters maybe, but not someone to come out in the power play, right? You cannot
Yeah.
have Nitish Reddy walking out in the power play and then your game is just done at that point.
Yeah. So there are actually two batters that I wanted to ask both of you about. One was Travis Head, and the other is Sunil Narayan. And both left-handers. Both have had amazing tournaments so far. Why do you think teams have struggled to bowl to these two?
PGK will say you're insulting Sunil Narayan by putting him in the same sentence as Travis Head. The Travis Head answer, I don't know. The Narayan answer is what I because he's been around for more than a decade, and you know what he can do. You have hours of footage, and yet it's an exact opposite of what you're talking about, Rishabh Pant, right? Where you say, outside off or wide outside, Rishabh Pant has a problem with it. Narayan, that's exactly the strength that Narayan has. If you bowl something wide outside off, he will just like slash real hard, and it'll go to either long off or it'll go behind square. And it is a boundary, and that's what he does. And no one's bowling into his body. You have the two bouncer rule, but no one's bowling into Narayan's body. They're not cramping him up for space. They're letting him free his arms, and he's been hitting everyone like crazy, right? That's one of the most inexplicable things. When Narayan is kind of cramped up, he kind of chicken wings under his right shoulder, but bowlers aren't doing that. Maybe got the first 50 and then people say, okay, guy is back in form, we should do something. Like, no, and guys mean a century after that.
Yeah.
And no one's doing anything. Head, I think, is a much more legitimate batter. A World Cup winning team. Probably should have opened the batting for the test team as well. If not for one foolish Steve Smith who wanted to do some gimmicks at the twilight of his career. But he's a legitimate batter. I mean, as legitimate as can be. If you're going to call Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett and all as test openers, then Travis Head is a pretty decent bat. Unless VaMu, you have contrasting views on why he's making runs.
No, I think he's just been like striking the ball, and I think he's been lucky with some of the wickets, to be honest. Like they have all been like flat wickets where he's just had the luxury of hitting through the line. With Narayan, I've got a slightly. I think Phil Salt is what is whom has made Narayan click this year. I just think that teams have found it very difficult to bowl to them as a combination because you bring out the fast like bowler or the fast like hit the deck bowler at Phil Salt like murders them. So teams have had to just be pull back on that hit the length bowler a bit. And if you see like between them, they've done a very good job of not rotating the strike too much actually. I think like Phil Salt just takes on the bowling type he prefers going after, and Sunil Narayan just goes after the other bowling type basically. So I think that's helped KKR a lot, that combination basically. I think the last game, was it against RCB? Narayan did struggle, right? I mean, I think he scored like 2 or 3 of 10 balls or something like that, where RCB just kept bowling like full and wide to him. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's just been a streak with Sunil Narayan. I think it will end. I don't think it's something that he'll keep with till the end of the IPL, to be honest.
On this subject, it just seems to me that what is a good length ball to a regular batter does not appear to be a good length ball to Sunil Narayan. And therefore, what you have trained for, or what is your sort of default length or whatever, has to change very, very dramatically based on the way he plays. And to an extent, I think the same is true of Travis Head also. A ball that you would expect to go for maybe 1 or 2 with someone else, he actually gets himself into a position where he's able to free his arms. I mean, it's been interesting for me to watch them both this year.
But that's also true for a Rishabh Pant or a Sky.
True.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
That is the same thing. That's true for both of those guys as well.
That is true. But
the difference with them is they are middle order batsmen. You've got like extra fielders back.
Difference with them is they are wearing blue. Okay. They are wearing blue, so we're happy with it. We like it. Arre, kya shot mara and all that. Same thing, you go now in Melbourne, ask someone, they will say, Arre, Travis Head is rocking it up. You know, that one more rival podcast that is a great cricketer or whatever they call themselves. They are also all gaga about Travis Head. That is their, you know, that is their biryani. This is our biryani. That's all.
Yeah.
You should not. But VaMu, I'm happy. Maybe you must be happy if that RCB got a win. So you think they will now build their team around Patidar, Jax, Green, and that will be their core. And of course, Kohli has to be there. But that 4 will be their core going forward. You see that? Because you are the one who was bullish about the whole Green move. And this is the move for the future. They will see him in the future. So Green, I'll put Green there. He had a good game, actually. Along with Patidar, Jax. Though he hasn't clicked, I think that's if they have to pick a overseas, that's probably the one they should pick for the future, along with Virat. That's the 4. And I mean, even though they won a game, I think they should now look at what their retentions or what the team is going to look for going into this year's auction, rather than is what I would say. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that seemed to be the strategy before the start of the tournament also. I think they weren't like really looking at this season as a season where they could compete very well, in my view. Like I'm a big Cameroon Green fan, to be honest. Like I just like love the presence I just love the presence that he brings to the game. I was very happy with that trade, I would say, even at that point in time, because you're getting somebody who will be there for another 7-8 years. And all things said and done, like I think Green instead of Pandya, I think that's turned out to be a good trade as far as RCB is concerned, at least this season. I think that I think with the passage of time, that'll look to be a very good trade in my view.
Time will tell.
I've just got a quick prediction for RCB for next season. I think we are going to see KL Rahul come back to RCB and captaining RCB.
Oh,
You heard it here first, folks.
son-in-law of Sunil Shetty at the RCB. Wow. But that means then a certain Virat will have to not be in the plans. I don't think they'll have the purse to manage that, but we don't know. We'll see. Keeping ahead with the trend of records, 2 other records were broken in the week, where the first one was interesting. It was the captain with the worst bowling figures was in this game, and that was Sam Curran. We're talking about the game Kolkata versus Punjab at the Eden Gardens. Sam Curran had the worst figures for a captain at 60 in 4 overs. And that game was going down record books as the greatest T20 ever played. I probably have my reservations with that, but it is. You had 260 getting chased in a game. But before that, so if Sam Curran had the worst bowling figures as a captain in a T20 game, who do you think had the second worst figures?
You're talking about in that game or like as a captain?
No, as a captain. Second worst figures as a captain. Sam Curran is the worst with 60 in 4 overs. Okay. So absolute worst is 73. That's Mohit Sharma.
Right.
As a captain, 60 in 4 overs is the worst.
Right. And you're saying whose
who
record
do you think
did
had
he
the second worst figures as a captain?
My sense is it would either have been Sam Curran from a previous game in the tournament or Mr. Hardik Pandya.
Yeah, that would have been my guess too.
It's been Pat Cummins in earlier this year itself, 55. Pat Cummins went for 55.
Yeah.
But then everything is so short-lived, memory short-lived in this IPL. That's
this is also Machan, this is how we console ourselves. Yeah. 2 ICC trophies later, we dig up dirt on Pat Cummins.
No, but I was going to be happy if he had the worst figures. But Sam Curran is like, no, I will help you out. I will go for 60 in 4.
If anyone else had asked that question, my guess would have been Ravichandran Ashwin. Glorious stint as captain of Kings 11 Punjab.
He was a leg spinner that season. So he wanted to always bowl leg spin. No one let him bowl. He's like, okay, I'm the captain. Now I can bowl leg spin. And
he brought in another leg spinner called Ashwin also into the 11.
Yep, that team had R. Ashwin, Murugan Ashwin, and both of them are bowling leg spin.
And that team also had an opening batsman called R. Ashwin for a few games.
Okay, enough of the Ashwin bashing. Let's get back to Kolkata, where the real bashing was dished out by Salt and Narayan in the opening. It was absolute carnage for they were like 130 or something at the 10 over mark. It was just everything was flying everywhere. It was just crazy. And then one of the interesting things happened, and a lot of people on Twitter and all were like pretty pissed off, where Shreyas Iyer, the great basher of death bowling, walked out ahead of Rinku Singh. But he actually did pretty well. He got stuck into an over. Everyone was like, what is even happening at this point? Why are you even walking out ahead of Rinku Singh? But yeah, he still was able to get up. But 261.
Yeah.
261 on any day, on any planet. Even this was EA Sports, cricket, you're playing on a console, you would still say, yeah, I think I'm good. I'm going to go sleep and let the thing happen. 261 guys, doesn't get chased, shouldn't get chased, should never get chased.
Yeah.
And that too when one guy like in the opposition ends up with bowling figures of 4 overs, 1 for 24. Imagine.
262 I have to score. We'll say, 24 balls this guy is going to bowl. We'll just give it away for this 24, which means 238 we will score of 16 overs.
Right.
What is this?
Right.
Which format are you playing? Like, this is beyond pitches. and balls and swing, and
Yeah.
this is beyond anything that we know until today.
No, and the other thing, Max, is like you were making the point about Chepauk earlier. The other grounds which were not traditionally high scoring were grounds like Delhi and even the Eden Gardens.
Eden,
It was
yeah.
not, yeah. I think the only ground which has got that low scoring reputation, and even that has gotten dented, is maybe Lucknow. Otherwise, every ground is high scoring now. I mean, every ground has become Chinnaswamy.
But when you say high score, what is a high score? Kolkata had a problem with the curator. It's public now, the curator, and then fighting. I don't work for you. I work for BCCI. Screw you. I don't know. He didn't get his Diwali bakshish or what. I don't know what their dynamic is. But last season also they've been complaining because they would load up 3 spinners in Suyash, Varun, and Sunil.
Right.
Narayan, and then if they weren't getting enough purchase with 3 spinners in there, and
Right.
but still it was not 200 plus scores they were getting posted. They were getting higher scores. They were not getting the grippy 140, 160 kind of tracks
Yeah.
last year, but they were still getting like 190, 180 tracks. 260 guys, we're talking like 1.5x of scores from the last. And again, people are like, oh, this is because of Impact Sub. This Impact Sub was there last year too. Oh, this is about Dew. Dew's been there before as well. This is about tracks. The tracks have not been relayed except for the Chennai, right? This is the same track. The Kolkata track is from last year as well. This is something else. Like 260 should not be scored. And Bairstow of all people should not be the one winning your game scoring 260, guys. Johnny Bairstow, the man, the machine, walks out and saunters out of the pitch and gets out, shouldn't be the one doing that. He's had an absolute horror of last 12 months, I would say, right from the Ashes to the series back home. And he's the only person. All of his teammates have left. He's the only one who's just stuck like Hanuman from the Ramayana, where, everyone died and went away. This guy is still stuck here forever. He's not getting off shores. He can't wait to get off the shores. And he's here. Scored a century and in crazy time. Like
40 odd balls or something, yeah.
And that's another team. Like Punjab also is not a team that knows how to win. They don't know how to win. They've been in 5 losses in the last over. Right? They come to the last over and self-combust. And that team wins 260. They make the record. Like nothing computes for me on this, right?
The question is, Max, does this add to the game or does it detract from it?
The answer is, what is the game?
Yep.
Right? So I've thought about this, and I know anyone who's listening to the pod, like, what the hell? Why are you thinking about a T20 game? Why are you thinking about the IPL? Is what our professor Mohan Krishnamurthy will tell us.
No. I think the most amazing thing is that you are able to even remember a T20 game for 3 days.
So 2 things are happening. I was following the game on the WhatsApp group, and I'm reading comments from everyone on WhatsApp, like, what, this is mindless, this is. And then I'm also following the game on Twitter at the same time on another tab, and I'm watching all the comments saying, this is the greatest thing. This is how hitting should be. They have maximized the number of balls in a game. And, like all these games, we've been playing we've been trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. This is how T20 should be played. You're supposed to maximize each and every ball. There shouldn't be any ones and twos. They generally, like in an IPL game, when I watch the highlights, right, or when you go to the BCCI website for the highlights, it's like a 12-minute, 13-minute video that they put together, and just has the 4 sixes and the wickets. Doesn't even have any dot ball, because this game did not even have all the 4s and 6s in their highlights package because there were just so many.
Yeah.
So I'm watching because it shows the first 6 of the over. It shows the fifth ball of the over, which is the 6. There were 2 boundaries in between. Highlights are like, boundary, why I'm just going to show you the 6s. There were that many in that game.
Yeah.
And this year scores have been higher because of impact player, but nothing explains you going this high. And that's why I was not ridiculing when I say what do you mean is high? Is 300 high? Because when 438 happened, right, in the South Africa Australia game. I remember where I was when that 438 game was happening. It was a seminal moment in ODI history when 438 was scored, but it didn't become the norm. Like after that, again, you had games in the 300s and so on and so forth. This is not like that. This year's IPL has been, every game is 200. Like even the PSL has been going that way, where 200 is just like just another day. I think Cummins at the toss, for one of the games, joked about your 300, but that's not far away. Kolkata was 138 at the 10 over mark. Right?
Yeah.
Generally, you see teams going 1.5x of what they did in the first 10 overs in the last 10. They should have actually got to 300. We are used to looking at T20 from the lens of 50-over cricket as a shortened version of 50-over cricket, rather than thinking of it as its own thing. Right? And it's lived in the shadow of 50-over cricket for almost 2 decades now. So it still has that surname of 50-over cricket behind itself, right? Versus it being its own thing where you don't have any of the constraints or the norms or the traditions of 50-over cricket that you have to respect. If you have not maximized 120 balls, you are at fault. That's it. Is that how we should be looking at it? When someone asked me, as soon as the game was over, I said it was very numbing. That was my first reaction. And it was a very numbing game because I didn't feel anything after a point. I didn't feel amazed or any reaction at that. But now it's been 3 days after that. I'm thinking that I am probably the one at fault. I am not understanding this, that this is probably how it should be played. So 240 plus is what you should be getting every game. And that is what is truly par. And anything you've been doing so far is just you're being subpar. The other team is being even more subpar than you. If you haven't maximized every ball to get at least 2 runs per ball, then you have not played the game right.
So just to put in context some stats, right? I mean, like 250 has been breached in this IPL 8 times already. In the history of the IPL, 250 has been breached 2 other times. This season of the IPL has already seen like 20% more sixes than the completed season, like than the full of last season, basically. We had the impacts of last year as well. Like it wasn't creating so much havoc. Dew in India is like a known problem. It's not as if like this year, like all of a sudden dew is propped up from nowhere. I personally think that the quality of the wickets are a lot better. Even impossible wickets like Lucknow are like good batting wickets. There is a bit of help, but you can play on the up, etc. I wouldn't still like externalize this to all teams in the IPL. I just think there have been like 3 or 4 teams that have been going mad at the top of the order. I think, and to some extent, those are the teams that have been doing well as well. You look at KKR, SRH, you look at Delhi Capitals to some extent. So those are the teams that have been like really going very, very hard at the top of the order. Most teams are not looking at like balance as a thing basically in the playing 11. They are just looking at like who are my best batsmen to put in the top 3. So for example, it would have been quite inconceivable for somebody like an SRH. Just imagine they have Mayank Agarwal and Rahul Tripathi sitting in the reserves. It's super unlikely that like in previous seasons they would have picked up a third overseas batsman in their 11 at the expense of these 2 Indian batsmen, basically. Similar for even Delhi Capitals, right? I mean, they are also pretty much like packing their side with overseas batsmen. So I think that's one trend that I'm seeing this IPL where like teams are willing to pack their sides with overseas batsmen at the cost of their bowling, basically. Today you have RCB playing 4 overseas batsmen. I mean, they are like, okay, fuck the bowling, like we will take care of it. Like it's not as if an overseas bowler is giving us much better results as compared to an Indian bowler. So just go hard with our overseas batsmen. I'd be very interested to see how this pans out in the T20 World Cup. I had a feeling last year as well when like you had more number of teams being brought into the IPL, whether there were enough bowlers going around basically. Batting has been crazy, but it should still be possible to bowl to a batsman and not get hit for 6 or 4 every ball. I think that's something that an international quality bowler, in my view, should be able to deliver with a fairly like high level of probability.
Okay, so Vamu, my question to you is, and what you analyzed beautifully is what has changed and why and how, etc. My question to you is a lot less analytical. It is more as a fan. Do you feel more or less engaged when you watch 260 playing 250?
Less engaged. I have not been very enamored by this six hitting contest.
To then borrow from Max's starting point, do you feel that that is to do with the fact that you have a certain ideal in your mind of what a balance between bat and ball should look like, and this is not matching that, therefore you're disengaged? In a sense, isn't this similar to an English cricket fan saying, I feel disengaged when it spins before lunch? Because it's not matching an ideal that he has in his mind.
I think it's fair. That's why I said like I'll be interested to see how the World Cup goes basically. I still think what we are seeing in the IPL is a bit of a one-off. I expect bowlers to come back with better plans next season. I mean,
Yeah.
even if it means like bowling Yorkers in the power play, basically, just like replicating death bowling in the power play and just like having fielders square of the wicket or something of that sort. So I expect bowlers to come back. Just as a layman, for me, like batting has been too easy this IPL. Some of the boundary sizes have been ridiculous, especially Delhi across its like 50-meter boundaries. And that I think gives a lot of comfort to batsmen also to just go hard.
I felt everything that you guys described. Okay, I felt disengaged. I felt no thrill when I saw a six because there is a six every over. I felt disengaged when I saw 260 playing 240. And I then asked myself why, and I asked myself all of these searching questions. If there is some sort of ideal that I have in mind saying that this is what balance between bat and ball should look like, and therefore this is not that, therefore I'm disengaged, and I started questioning myself. I realized that ODI cricket itself has gone through this journey, although on a much more expanded scale. Therefore, it appears much less dramatic. I mean, if you think about it, teams who are scoring 220 and 230 in a 60-over game in the first edition of the World Cup, and those are like winning totals, right? If you see over time, the game has gotten more fast scoring even there. So even there, the balance has shifted in favor of the batsman. Also, when I ask myself these questions, I tell myself that, I watched this game like my life depended on it in the 90s. Okay. And the 90s had some of the most boring ass cricket ever. Like ODIs in the 90s were so formulaic. It was almost like two teams had a pact that, between over 15 and over 40, you also don't do anything, I also won't do anything. We'll just kind of get through these 25 overs. And then, so basically your first 15 and the last 10 is deciding the contest. And yet, we followed as though our lives depended on it. And, we say that is balance between bat and ball. Was it really? I mean, if I look back now, those games were extremely predictable. And so there is no rational reason why I should be feeling this way. But I mirror exactly what you guys are saying, that a six no longer is a big deal. Like I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this. There was a game, I think in 1991 or 92 in Australia. There was a tri-series, India, West Indies, and Australia.
Mhm.
So one of those games, I think there was a tied game with West Indies. I
Yeah,
think, yeah.
Perth.
Yeah. So in that
Yeah.
series, it may have even been that game. I remember Curtly Ambrose hitting a six and kissing his bat. Like I remember it even now, because back then a six was that big a deal. Like you remember Javed Miandad hitting a six. I mean, a six has become so commonplace now, and that you almost feel cheated, when you see that happening.
So let's put this also into perspective, right? That was a 10-year-old PDP. who saw
Yeah, that's
that,
true.
right? Again, not just you. I'm not speaking on you. I'm picking on. We're all about the same, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying, and now your and my kid are that same age, where when they're watching this, and
Yeah.
so that was part of our growing years, watching teams at 220 being a fighting score, and then slowly towards 96. The whole Jai Surya thing happening, like, what is this? Why are you hitting like this, right? And then slowly from there, I remember that Bangladesh Kanitkar 300
Yeah.
chase was 300 can be chased. Oh my!
Yeah.
We in school for 1 week we were talking about 300 being chased in
Yeah.
Bangladesh. But that was our growing years. It also is about where you were in that time in history, at what point of journey in life you were. Like, we were a lot more naive and this thing and all that. So, and now we're like, getting closer to 40, having seen all of that, this seems very numbing. Right? That's why we have the very same feelings of like 6 doesn't mean anything. So yesterday's game, we should get into that now, was a very good game. It was the game between Rajasthan taking on Lucknow. And I'm watching with my kids. Now this is the same age when I was watching with my dad the 94 series and the 96 series and so on, right? Now I'm watching it through their eyes. And so it's very different. So when I am appreciating like how, they're working Krunal Pandya away and not giving him any runs, or I was so happy when I saw Amit Mishra bowl and all of that, my daughter's like, he hit him for 2 sixes, right? Why are you so happy? But I'm just happy to see Amit Mishra bowl. But Amit
Yeah.
Mishra got hit for 2 sixes in that over, and then he got a wicket as well. It's like, why is he showing his t-shirt? He got a wicket. So what? Other people also getting wickets. They're not showing t-shirts. It's like, but again, that's what I'm saying. This all comes from that we are romanticizing it of a particular time and where we were and all that. And what my kid will now romanticize growing up, and this is what they're watching, right? They're not watching the 220s and the 240 score. They are watching. They are watching 220s and 240 score just in 20 overs.
Yeah.
Not in 50 like we have watched it.
Yeah.
And that is their reality, and that is how they rose. And like you said, PDP, I think it's just that batters have already gone to that next level. Bowlers have to catch up. And what they will do, I don't know, but that's what we'll have to watch and see. But all these things of the pitches are flatter, dew is helping. These are all ancillary things. I'm not saying they don't help, they do help. If you put all of them together, it's maybe like 30% of the game is because of all of these things. I think the remaining 60 is a mind shift change where they are unlocked it in their minds that this is how we have to play. And there'll be days where we come off and score 260. There'll be days where we don't and we score 140. And it's almost baseball in a way, wherein
Oh, come on, please. No. Come on, Mayu. I protest.
but no, but these will come off. On some days they will come off. You will score excess of 200. Then some days they will not, and you will be Nitish Reddy will walk out in the power play, and you will trottle your way to a 140 or a 130 or 160. It's not just that teams are stacking themselves with overseas batters. It's more about stacking a team with with hard hitting batters, whether they're overseas or not.
Yeah.
It's about hard hitting batters right at the top, and which is why you're seeing teams like the classic teams of the IPL, like Mumbai and Chennai, struggling because they're still not caught up to that. They're like, dude, this has won us 5 trophies. We know how this works. And the other team's like, no, dude, this is how it's going to work now. Like, both of these teams have been built on, let us stack up the teams with all-rounders. Let us get a stable start and then explode through the middle. Whereas the other teams are like, what start, dude? We'll finish the game in the power play. After that, you come and you can eat chivda, fafada, whatever you want. The game is done in the power play itself. Okay, Rajasthan probably is the anomaly. They've been doing well in the past seasons as well. But otherwise, if I came and told you that KKR and SRH should be in the top 3 at the start of the season, you're like, this cannot happen. Like, both of these teams, we thought, like, KKR doesn't even have a captain who can be on the field for a season enough, and then SRH, we didn't even know they're going to have players, which 4 players are going to pick. So those are the 2 teams, right? So
the thing is, Max, you touched upon something that actually I found myself doing this year, which is that when you focus on the game and the score and the boundaries and the sixes, you actually feel detached. You feel numb. But it's these little moments actually, which actually, even beyond the context of the game, it's like these little moments which have given me a lot of joy. Like watching Sanju yesterday gave me a lot of joy. Watching Patirana bowl every match, just those 24 balls, that's worth looking forward to. Or watching Bumrah, basically, every time he has the ball in his hand. You seek comfort in these smaller things. And that's something which I have enjoyed this year far more than in previous years.
That is for us dinosaurs, right? But our kids will seek
That's
comfort
true.
in what's happening. So they were cheering. So my elder one was cheering Lucknow. My younger one was cheering Rajasthan, and it was a completely cacophony in my house last night as we were watching this game in the morning. Right, we're having breakfast, and they're both screaming at the TV for that game. And it was a pretty good game, even by my standards. I liked it as well. It was a joy, and if we don't talk about this game, this episode will not get published because a certain person who's the pivotal behind the success of Rajasthan, will ensure that this episode will get deleted. So let's talk about that game, guys. It was a really good game. We had two of India's wicket keepers, capped wicket keepers, going at it. And it was just a joy. Just the way they were going about that game, right? It was so much different than all the other games you've seen this week. This was not like the raw power of Hulk at Chennai, or the slashing of Narain at Eden. It was not the absolute brute hitting of Bairstow at Eden. This was none of that. Or like McGurk just swiveling around like a top and hitting everyone in. This was clean, sublime, and they were still getting. Mind you, there was not like they were chasing 120, 130. They were still chasing 199. But the way they were going at it was so methodical. At one point, my daughter was like, why are they going so easy with this? And in that chase, both their faces, that's such a calm. There were smiles when Jurel was batting between overs. But yeah, it's PDP. Please tell us something about that game.
Just watching them accelerate without too much effort. It was very much like you have a car that was driving in, and the contest is on as long as they're in third gear, and then they just found another gear. Of course, some really poor fielding by LSG also. But Sanju was sublime, and he's been brilliant in this season. It's one of those things that give you joy. You leave aside the fact that it's high scoring, that everyone is hitting six, blah blah blah. But the way he played yesterday, and I was texting on the group, and I was texting Tony also that this was something really memorable and really special. And I hope he plays for India in the World Cup. I mean, there's no harm in hoping, right? It could happen.
VaMu, your thoughts on the game?
No, it was. I mean, it was nice for a change to see a planned T20 chase. It just felt like they were going through various gears, and it was not just like looking to hit every ball. It's a side of Sanju we are seeing this season in particular, where I think he's taking on a lot more responsibility in terms of being at the wicket for a lot longer now. Some may see that as not necessarily a good thing, but with Sanju, I think he has the ability to tonk three sixes in an over and just make up for it. So it's very clear that he is very keen that his side does well this season. I mean, he's been very animated this season, be it on the field, even like post match, he was very complimentary of Dhruv Jurel's innings, and he's just creating an atmosphere where everybody is doing well and everybody is feeling a part of it. So I hope he gets rewarded with the T20 spot, and more importantly, a starting spot in the T20 World Cup. But yeah, I'm now with RCB well and truly out. I won't utter it, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to see Rajasthan close out the tournament now.
Yeah, I think also what's been nice is that Yashasvi's shown some form. I think the last couple of games. It was a little weird actually that after the series he had against England, he just kind of went off the boil a little bit. But yeah, it's good to see him scoring again.
Rajasthan is now a team where every single player has clicked, right? Butler came came through, got a century. Yashasvi got
On
a
the
century.
field and on YouTube also.
Yes. You will not let that go. Sanju has been doing well. Dhruv Jurel finally came to the party. Trent Bolt has been sublime the opening over. Sandeep Sharma has been doing well. Yuzi is just picking wickets. And then Ashwin has been keeping things down. Like that team has got everyone. Riyan Parag has done well in initial games. Hetmeyer, I think, helped them close one game. Rovman Powell. So everyone in the team has contributed to a win. One of the wins so far, right? And that's the team that looks really, really good. It's almost like the Chennai of 2018, where every game had a different player of the match. You had Bravo in one game. You had everyone was different, and right up to the final when suddenly Watson showed up and saying, "Hey, I am also in the playing 11," and won them a game. That's how this campaign has been for them. And we are a house divided. The girls love the team in pink. I am in yellow. So that's how this is going. So we'll see how. But yeah, another thing was even the first inning, right? KL Rahul was sublime. He was also just smooth as it was going, right? I mean, the Sanju inning kind of takes away from how Rahul played, but he looked also good. Again, he was not going at very, very fast clip or anything like that. Probably that's what maybe cost him in the end. But that game had close to 40 boundaries, and I think only 10 or 11 sixes were hit in that game. It's the opposite of what we saw in some of the other games where there was a lot more boundaries.
Yeah, I think Lucknow hit only 2 of those.
Yeah, Lucknow, and it was both by Rahul. Only 2 sixes, both by Rahul. And then Sanju hit 4, and I think others, we got 1. But it was 10 sixes probably, 10 or maybe 11. And they were close to 40 boundaries. And maybe that's how we are now. We cherish a boundary more than a 6 because you can see it, cutting through 2 fielders, just going through, and then versus I just walked out and just hit range hitting, right? This is like going to a golf course and just range hitting. We have something here in baseball. It's called the home run derby, where they play this exhibition kind of a game where they bring all these best hitters from all the different teams and then just try to hit home runs or who can hit the farthest and all that. That's how this week has been in terms of all the sixes being hit. But this game was a very nice way to end the week. As we look forward to the week, we can hopefully if there's more of these games and less of the 260 games, I would be happy. But going by the reactions on Twitter and the crowds going absolute bonkers, maybe we are the minority here. The majority disagrees with us. We'll look forward to see how the week shapes up. And probably by next time we're recording this episode, there will be discussion on the actual playing 11s because squads would have been released by then. So we'll see what's happening. Until then, on episode 121 of the Bits and Pieces, this is Max signing off with Prashant and Varun. We'll see you. Please keep listening. Give us your feedback on X as you do, and rate us on Spotify or wherever, Apple Tunes, wherever you get your podcast from. Keep listening. Thank you.
Bye.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?